Jose Aldo should be a consensus top 10 UFC fighter on everyone's list. So the criteria is resume depth, quality of competition, title wins, and dominance. I would put quality of competition over resume depth, but whatever, it is what it is. I do have Jose Aldo in the top 10. Actually, I think he's number 5 for me. So let's go into his reasoning. So this is just accounting for robberies, essentially, saying that Jose Aldo has had 10 losses in the UFC, but some of it is very misleading because there is quite a few controversial decisions in there. I 100% agree. His fight against Sahabi, I thought he won. His fight against Moraes, I thought he won. Bautista, I thought Bautista might have just edged it out, but I could see why people thought Aldo won that fight. But regardless, they are counted as losses, but it's just something to consider, I guess. So he's taking a look here at the resume, and the only parts of this I don't like is when you put in guys like Marlon Moraes, Ayman Sahabi, Mario Bautista as wins. He didn't win the fight. As much as we think he may have won those fights, you should probably at least put in brackets actually lost, but I thought he won, or something like that, to let us know that he did not win this fight, because it makes his resume look even better than it actually is. And I understand you thought he won and everything, that's fine, you could say that, but don't put it as actual wins. Doing that math, I believe it's actually 16 notable wins, which is still fantastic, but let's not act like he has 19 notable wins. Now, this is where he goes into the losses section. His in-prime losses, he put Max Holloway twice, Volkanovski, McGregor. He was definitely not in his prime for Volkanovski. Max Holloway is debatable. I don't think he was. Yes, he was around the age of 30, I believe it was at the time. Age does not always determine prime. My thought is Aldo was always very physically capable at that point of his career, but I think it's the mental aspect that started to go for him as time went on, and I wouldn't say he would give up, he had heart, but I think he had dug even deeper at times earlier in his career, and I think he hit his peak very young, like when he was like 20, and I think he was in his prime until around the Frankie Edgar rematch, maybe. Now, this is going to the whole dominance and title wins section. Yes, he does have some of the most title defenses in UFC history, and I also include the whole WEC stuff because the WEC fighters were the exact same as the UFC fighters, and the UFC bought the WEC, if I'm not mistaken, and ended up doing a merger, so I do count the WEC wins too. Now, this section is to talk about Aldo's best win being Frankie Edgar, which he considers an all-time great win, and I agree, especially considering the fact that he beat him twice, and he basically goes into detail saying that GSP, Anderson Silva, Mighty Mouse don't have any all-time great wins, whereas John Jones only has one, for instance, which basically makes Aldo higher on the GOAT list for having an all-time great win, whereas other fighters don't. So I can see the point there. Now, this whole section here is the part I agree with the most, basically saying that he only lost to elite-level fighters after his prime. And losing after your prime is not nearly as bad as when you're losing in your prime. Aldo, in my opinion, is an elite-level fighter who always had the physical capabilities, but I think mentally he just didn't love it as much as he used to, which is very, very understandable, but I think he just peaked very, very young. For instance, it's the same thing with, like, Mike Tyson. Like, I think he peaked at a very young age, and by the time he hit the age of 29, 30, I don't think he was on that same level, at least mentally, compared to what he used to be. So, yeah, I do agree. I have Aldo at number 5 all time.